Well, hey, this is Rhonda Simmons, and I am the founder and CEO of the Simmons Empowerment Foundation. And I'm so glad to be with you again for another episode of Empowered Heart to Heart. So glad that you're here with me today. And like every other episode, I'm going to say, I am so excited. Oh my goodness. I keep saying this that I have the best guests every episode. But it just keeps getting better and better. And I'm just so excited. I have a great announcement, people. Let me tell you, Empowered Heart to Heart has now gone global. And you're thinking, what are you talking about? Well, I've got listeners not only in the United States, but I've got listeners in Sweden and Belgium and Canada and the Philippines and Ireland. Yes, Ireland. And I am just so thrilled that people are actually listening to what we have to say. And not only have we gone global in our listenership, we have a special guest today, all the way from Thailand. Yes, Thailand. Most of us have never been, although my husband has been to Thailand before. I haven't been. So maybe that'll have to be on my bucket list. So that's why it is so important before I even bring her into the studio that you like, comment, and share this video right now. If you're watching me on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure that you bookmark it so that you don't miss any episode. You don't want to miss anything because I'm telling you, this is the place to be. If you're listening to our radio broadcast, make sure that you're tuning in to KRGN 98.5 FM every Saturday at 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure that you are there and on time because you don't want to miss a word of it. You can connect with me through our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, all with the same handle at TSEFIORG. That's the acronym for the Simmons Empowerment Foundation Incorporated. So we're trying to make sure that we keep it as simple as possible. So reach out to us on our social media platforms or on our website. You can definitely go to www.tsefi.org, or you can email us at info@tsefi.org, or our office number is on the screen. I am so excited today because our guest is all the way from Thailand, as I've said, and this is a special episode because our episode today is called "From Victim to Victor." From victim to victor. And I just want to just hurry up and bring her in. I am so glad to have you join us, Miss Maria Kellis. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you for your beautiful, beautiful, exciting words of introduction. As you can probably tell, even though I live in Thailand now, I'm originally from Greece. Uh, I was born in Greece. I was raised in France. I went to school in the United States. Then I went back to Greece, then Indonesia. My company's in Cyprus, and now I live in Thailand. So I'm a very global citizen. And I do believe that this is a very small world. At the end of the day, we're all like together as one. So I'm excited to be here and take your show global from the speaker's perspective. And I hope I'm just the one of many.
Well, thank you so much. We're very glad to have you. I know it's early where you are, so thank you for getting up so early in
I'm a
Thailand.
morning person, so it's thank you for staying up late on your side.
That's
This is
all
the
right.
only funny thing about being global: time zones. And I have to say, I'm one of those people who are waiting, waiting, waiting for daylight savings to be over because every twice a year, every year, like everything gets messed up. So, but
Yes,
because not everybody follows daylight saving, and
right.
so it's sort of I'm excited, and we are actually at this moment 12 hours apart, so it's very exciting.
Yes. Yes, it is very exciting. And I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. So, our topic for today's podcast episode is From Victim to Victor. And you have such a phenomenal backstory. Maria, will you tell us about yourself and what your life was like on the victim side of life's pendulum?
Absolutely. I'm going to start by saying that nobody's broken. Um, and definitely nobody's broken beyond repair. I grew up in a place where it was difficult, and more than that, because my life had been difficult, I sort of believed it. I didn't know anything else, so I believe that there's something wrong with me, and I have had, unfortunately, experienced physical, mental, emotional, sexual abuse. And so that means that it's almost as if I was starting a race with my hands and one leg tied behind my back. Um, so I can tell you some of the highlights if you want to, or lowlights maybe. Um, and the reason I'm going to say that is not because I feel sorry for myself. In fact, I'm grateful for where I am today, but because I want you to, I sometimes it helps to hear that not everything is rosy perfect. Have this idea from people on YouTube and social channels these days that life is perfect. They all have the perfect smile, the perfect life, the perfect wedding, perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, guess what? Life is not perfect. Life
No.
is sometimes really bad. And we I was inspired by your audience. I love that you started something for teenage moms because truly, if you're a mom in your teenage years, like you start with like one hand tied behind your back, because suddenly you don't have time to do everything that other people have done, and then you have somebody to take care of, and it can feel challenging. So let me explain what I mean about the low lights. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Yeah. So I'll paint you a picture. So in 2004, so almost 20 years ago now, I found myself in a wheelchair, and it was bad. It was really bad. At the time, I was engaged, and my fiance left me, saying that it was just too difficult to handle, and um, that even if we had children, he would leave me. So just to make clear that this was not just personal.
Wow.
And my friends sort of dwindled and disappeared. I had just moved from Boston to California, so at the time I didn't know many people already, but I was young. I had just finished college, so I didn't have many savings. Very soon, with the hospital bills and everything, I not only qualified for welfare, I qualified for food stamps, um, because I had nothing. I had nothing left. I was at financially at rock bottom. Emotionally, my fiance had just left me. I felt very abandoned, very alone. My body was broken. Um, I had a neuropathic pain. So my nerves were inflamed. And so that means that I was in so much pain all the time. I was one of the screamers in the hospital. And, um, and the only thing I knew what to say was no morphine because they kept saying, "Do you want morphine for the pain?" And, uh, and I had this crazy pain. So then they started giving me OxyContin, which now is more well known, but at the time I had no idea what it was. So that means that after a few months of treatment, I was addicted to opiates, which meant that, amongst other things, I had to deal with the drug addiction because
Mhm.
drug addiction is real. It's not something that oh, I'm going to choose to be a drug addict. I remember one night waking up and I was like crying and I was sweating and I was shaking. And then I took the drugs and I was fine. I was like, what is this drug that you're giving me again? And that's when I realized I had to, and I remember they had to give me methadone to be able to manage the withdrawal symptoms so I can eventually get off the opiates while at the same time I was in tremendous pain. So this paints a picture of somebody that doesn't have much going for them. And the reason I'm saying that is because at the time, amongst other things, my stomach was completely destroyed. I was like, pretty much I couldn't eat anything. I remember going to a gastroenterologist who gave me a book. It was called Love, Medicine, and Miracles. And it was about um, people who have cancer. And in his book, he did not study how people die. He studied how people survive. And he said it doesn't matter what kind of cancer you have. It doesn't matter how severe it is. All that matters is that you are at this stage where you allow yourself to heal. If you believe you're going to heal, you are going to heal. And so that that was the beginning of my belief that this can be better. This does not have to be the rest of my life. And so the I made a firm decision in that moment. I remember when they brought the motorized wheelchair, so the insurance had approved for me to get a motorized wheelchair, and the vendor came to demonstrate the model. And I, in my mind, I was like, this is not the rest of my life. That's when I made the decision, and it always starts with a decision that I'm going to shift. Um, and this is where things started. This is where the beginning of this started. And the beginning is always the decision that this is not going to continue for the rest of my life, that I can do better than this, that I can choose. So now I always speak about the 4 levels of responsibility. So one is I am the victim. So things happen to me. 2, I am lucky. So things happen for me. So whatever happens, it's for me, it's for my benefit. Then 3 is the observer. It's the whole Eastern mindfulness philosophy of taking life as it is, the very Zen way of approaching things. And then it's almost as if you're going from being an actor to being a director. So you're just looking at things, you're observing. And now there's one last level, I'm going to say, because in that level of the observer, it usually works really well when you're a monk in a cave, but it doesn't work so well in the world because the world keeps happening. So that level that I'm here to describe, and you called it the victim, I call it more the creator, which is being the actor and the director, meaning that you're observing and you're also living life. And that's really the creator level where life happens through me. And this is what I'm here to discuss. How do you create a life that happens through you, that you design and you live a life by design, by choice?
You have said some powerful things, Maria. I'm just my mind is just racing with all of the things that not only you went through, but that you learned from. One of the things you said was that the turning point for you started with a decision to be healed. And that's a powerful statement because many times when we're trying to make life changes, when we're trying to improve something about us, we have a good idea. We have, an agreement with others. Oh, this is something I should do. But your decision was internal. It doesn't sound like from what you said that it was based on what other people were doing, what other people were saying. It was an internal decision. How hard was it to stick with that decision?
Well, I was lucky, quote unquote, because I was in a wheelchair. So I always did not want to be in a wheelchair. So the motivation was always there. But yes, I do believe that all decisions are internal. In fact, everything we do, everything comes from within before it gets manifested outside. And I
Absolutely.
say this because when we live in a victim mentality, we expect things to happen for us. Well, what if I win the lottery? Then I will not have problems with money anymore. Well, guess what? Most lottery winners a year later are broke. Um, what if I get married to the perfect guy? Well, guess what? Um, Most marriages end in divorce, or you never find the perfect guy. There's no such thing as perfect.
No.
Even I like I like the modern life princess Meghan Markle, who kind of like went to the palace. I mean, she had like the picture perfect royal wedding, and then she left. She was suicidally depressed and said this is not worth it, and she quit everything. And she and her husband made the decision to just go and empower people around the world. And it it's almost like there's no such thing as a fairy tale ending that ends up perfect. And I like that movies these days always have this, you know, as a joke, because we grew up, I at least in my childhood, this idea that there is a perfect ending. So,
Right.
oh, and then they were married and life was perfect for the rest of their lives. It doesn't work
Mhm.
that way. Everything
Right.
has to be worked on. And I believe that as we make the decision that we are powerful beyond measure, that we can do everything we want, when we make the decision inside that we can do it, we can.
Yeah.
I always like to quote Henry Ford from Ford Motors, who always said, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you cannot, you're right. So it really starts with you. Can you choose to do this? Can you choose to say yes to yourself? Can you choose to say, yes, I can do it, even though I don't know how? And let me tell you, when I was in the wheelchair, the doctors had no answers for me. I did not know how. I was like, that's just not going to be my life. That's it. It wasn't a very complicated decision. It was just a decision that said, this is not going to be my life. And it, it's almost like the moment we make the decision, doors open where
Yeah.
there were not doors before.
Yes.
And that's the important message to remember, is that we are not alone. We make our decisions and the universe will support us in our choices and our decisions. I did not say it comes easy. Yes, we have to work. And to this day, I can tell you that everything I want, I mean, I have a dream life. I travel around the world, and I am a global speaker, and I have clients from 15 countries. I live between 5 countries. I have my dream life, and I still work. But I don't work from a place of, oh, I have to work. I work from a place, oh my God, this is so great. I love my work. I love my job. I get to play every day, and this is fun. It, I believe that for our work, for our life, this is what it means to find our purpose. What gives you joy? What will you do every day anyway? Even if you were not paid for it, well, that should be your job. And once you figure out how to make a living from it, then that's your perfect job. It doesn't have to be picture perfect for others. It has to be for you, your choice, your decision, your preferences.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I like a word. I used to be an English teacher, so language and vocabulary is very important to me. And I was listening to every word you said, and you substituted the word victor, from victim to victor, someone who's victorious. You use the word creator. I believe you said that was the fourth level. Can you
Mhm.
talk to us more about what you mean by that level of being a creator?
Sure. And a very easy analogy is what I was saying about the idea of being the actor versus the director versus the actor director. So the actor, well, the first actor is the one that just like sort of happens to be in the movie set, and the one happening believes that the movie is real. So this is the since ancient times. I'm from Greece, so since I was a little kid, I learned about Plato, and from those times, Plato had the analogy of the cave, and describing that this life is an illusion, that this life is not really what we see, but there's something else happening. There's a reality beyond. And I didn't understand as a kid exactly what that meant, but I always wondered, I wonder what that is. And I was lucky enough to get that awareness in the hospital. I remember realizing that I am not my body because my body is broken. I can function. I didn't know how suddenly I went from walking and moving to being in a hospital but confined in pain. But somehow I had the awareness that I was still me. I was not my emotions. My emotions were dependent on my happy drugs, and yet somehow, even through this craziness, I was still me. I was not my memories. It's as if my brain was inflamed and I had lost huge chunks of my memory. Up to that point, I had a photographic memory. Suddenly, I couldn't remember anything. I didn't remember what happened an hour ago, and it was it was weird. And somehow, I was still me. And so I was not my emotions, I was not my body, I was not my memories, I was not my mind. My mind, I was used to thinking a certain way, and suddenly I couldn't process things anymore. It's as if my vision was tilted and everything was sideways. So it didn't make sense at all. And yet somehow I was still me. So I asked, who am I? Who am I? I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my emotions. Who am I? And that's where the question starts. So up to that point, I was clearly the actor. So things had happened to me. I had been victimized. Things where people had been mean to me, people had betrayed me. Um, and in that moment, I realized that, there's a me that I don't understand. So that's the first level. The second level is things happen for me. So that's when we make a decision, and it really starts with a decision again, that to play the Pollyanna game. It sounds silly, but that's the game we start playing. We're like, oh, well, this happened. Why was I lucky that this happened, right? So this person just stole my purse. Why was this a lucky opportunity? Oh, this person just betrayed me. Oh, this person just attacked me. Why is that a lucky thing? Oh, somebody's just kicking me to the ground. Why is this lucky? For example, the reason I made the decision to be empowered, this started before the wheelchair, is because I was on the ground being kicked. And I remember thinking, why am I being kicked? Why am I allowing myself to be here, to be the person who's being kicked in the ground? And I remember like the person was just like, it was almost like they felt nothing. I was on the ground and I was curled up in the ball because it hurt, obviously. And that person was just kicking as if they were kicking a ball. It's like kick, 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 right? And I was like, why am I here? And I made that decision not because I I thought that life could be different, but because I was like, what am I doing here? Why am I the ball that this guy on the ground? He should go find like a football to kick, not me. And the reason I'm saying that is because that moment, that moment when I'm on the ground being kicked, this was a tremendous gift because as an adult, so as this was happening throughout my childhood, I didn't really necessarily think about options. But now I was in college and I was like, you know what? I don't need to be the person who's like the football on the ground. I can just leave. And I had friends that I called and I said, hey, can I stay at your place? I am, and I remember going to my friends and they were so kind. For 2 weeks, I was there crying and not speaking, and they didn't ask any questions. They just said, Maria, you can stay in my room and then we'll speak when you can. And for 2 weeks, all I did was cry. But this was a gift. That experience was a gift. That person kicking me was my greatest gift, right? So things happen for me. This happened as an adult. Finally, I could say no more. I could say, I am not that your football anymore. And even if we look at this horrible, quote unquote, experiences and say this happened for me as a Pollyannish game, right? So it's like, oh, I'm Pollyanna. Why is this good? Why is this lucky? Well, guess what? It works. We stop feeling that the world is against us and we're like, well, the world is for us. Right now, I say that I'm guided and protected in everything I do. So that means that I believe that no matter what, everything's happy. Everything's happening for me. So people, I literally have this lady attacking me now saying that crazy things about me, right? I'm like, okay, great. Why is this happening for me? Oh, because in my life, other people have attacked me. Great. So now, from my perspective, I can heal that trauma. I can heal that situation that has happened multiple times in my life. So I'm like, okay, now I can stand up for myself. Now as an adult, I'm no longer the child that was betrayed and kicked to the curb and and had no choices. As an adult, I can look at her with love and I don't need to attack her. This is the funny thing is I believe that healing comes through love. So as this woman is attacking me, I'm like, okay, can I find myself in a place of love? And anytime she sends me anything, I reply in love. I find first the love. Okay, the first moment she says, I may go through human emotions like I'm upset or sad or scared or whatever.
Mhm.
But then by the time I reply, I'm always in the love. I have compassion for her pain. I know that there's an expression that says, hurt people, hurt people.
Mhm.
So she's hurt and she's hurting me and she doesn't even know she's doing it. And I like to transform this to hurt, heal people, heal people.
Yes,
So
yes,
I am and so I can heal her. And maybe I cannot do this directly, but I can heal her through prayer. So I pray for her before I ever reply. And I get to that place of love from my side, at least, where I'm like, this is not a hate game. You may think you're right. You may think you're defending yourself. You may think you're attacking this horrible person that you think I am. But that's not me. I don't believe that story. That's your story. That's not my story about myself. And
mm,
I'm just going to let you be you while I am me. And I don't need to be a part of your story. So that is the level, and I'm describing level twos and three because in that level, not only I feel I'm lucky, but now in level three, I'm knowing that this is happening, but I'm outside. And
yes,
level four, this level of the creator, is really I am the actor and I'm the director. If I don't like what's happening, I'm going to change it. If I don't like the
yes,
story I'm in, I'm going to choose a different story. I always think
yes,
of the book of life. I'm like, if you don't like what you're reading, let the book down, pick up another book. That's your new life story.
yes,
So,
yes, absolutely. That is powerful. I wrote it down. Healed people, healed people. That's good. That is really, really good. Your life has been amazing, Maria. Just it may not have started out feeling amazing, but here you are today, just a living, breathing testimony of how to overcome trauma. And I'm just so amazed. And so, you, in a nutshell, you answered the question I was about to ask you about what does empowerment mean to you? Because it's I think the emphasis is on you and what you make it to be. That's what I'm gathering from what you've said.
and I can make it if it's okay.
Sure.
Do you want me to answer it?
Sure.
So our power is us choosing to be ourselves. And it's almost like, remember I was talking about the observer, so we're sitting in our center, we're powerful here, we are powerful in ourselves in the now. So there's no other time, there's no other space, there's no, oh, I wish I was there then I could be powerful. Nah, right here, right now. We are choosing to be in our power today. It's a choice, it's a decision, it is a state of being. In this state of being, I am choosing to be powerful. In this state of being, I am choosing to be the person who creates my life. And from that on, I am choosing every step. And that means I will make a mistake. I will screw up all the time. And guess what? Actions have consequences.
Yes,
So
you did.
some things are not good.
Yes.
I may make a mistake, and my mistake will cause things to happen not the way I want them to. But you know what? I can choose to learn from that mistake, or I can choose to go and then all blame others. Oh, I didn't really make that mistake. Somebody forced me to, or they twisted my hand. So when we're the victim, we are trying to defend ourselves. Because I remember being so terrified of, oh my God, if I make a mistake, the consequences are so horrible that I will lie. I would lie to cover what I did, because I was like, well, I couldn't have made a mistake. I was terrified of making a mistake. Well, guess what? Now I know that if I come from a good intention, from love, and that's the secret, coming from the place of love, then no matter what I do, at least my intention was good. And I don't mean it as a savior. Remember the victim triangle? We have the savior, the victim, and the aggressor. So in that triangle, so there needs to be three people. So there's always three. And it could be two people, or even one ourselves, right? But there's always three positions. The victim, the aggressor aggresses the victim, and the savior protects the victim by attacking the aggressor. But all of this is based on attack. All of this is based on somebody doing something wrong, and somebody having being wronged while somebody rectifies the right and makes it right. Well,
Mhm.
none of it is true. Every person is an actor. Every person is playing a role. Like that woman I was describing is attacking me. Like now she's playing the role of the monster, the attacker, but she's just playing a role. I don't think she's a monster. That does not make her a monster for everything. Just makes her the monster in that movie where she's attacking me. Does it make sense? No. Why is she doing it? I don't know. She's hurt. And and so she's hurting me or trying to hurt me. She can't really hurt me, but she's trying, she's doing her best. Good effort. But
Yeah.
she's helping
So
me overcome this feeling that when people attack, I am okay.
yes,
So
you are okay.
in our sense of power is that we are okay no matter what people do. We're not their victims. We're not dependent on what others do. Well, if this person says something nice, I'm happy, and if this person says something horrible, I'm going to be crying. No, no. Your emotions are yours. So you can choose to take it as a horrible thing that happened to you, or you can just say, I wonder what this person's telling me. So when somebody tells you something that makes you cry, well, they didn't make you cry. Something inside you needed to cry because you felt victimized or whatever, and then they're giving you the gift of being aware of it. So great. So what are they telling you? And that difference is winning attitude. I remember I heard Tony Robbins, and he was describing a story how this millionaire bear was mentoring him, and he said, hey, do you want to go to the black slope in the mountain for skiing? And apparently Tony Robbins at the time didn't even know how to ski. So he said, yeah, sure, let's go, right? And so as they got up on the mountain, he told him two lessons. Lesson number one is, first, don't ever go up to black ski slope if you don't know how to ski, right? Because by the way, I know you can't ski, and I know you're going to have a terrible time. And second, you're making the choices for everything. And so as Tony Robbins was going down the ski slope, he, instead of thinking, oh, this guy's a SOB and he just left me in the middle of the mountain to die, he was thinking, what lesson is he teaching me? And as he was probably angry or whatever, navigating through the slopes, he started thinking about this lesson, that he was in control, that he was choosing. And so by the time he arrived all the way down to the chalet with the other guy, was like, "Hi, you made it alive. Good job." The lesson he got is like, "Oh, it's your job to come back alive. I created an experience for you. Now can you manage to sign up through it?" And he did,
Wow.
and he
Wow.
learned the lesson. And I love
Absolutely.
that lesson because instead of choosing to look at people as hard people, we can look at them as people who are giving us a challenge. I remember at one point I asked my brother for a loan and he said no. And well, initially that hurt me because it was like, well, I'm in trouble and I need money. And then I realized he has his family, he has his responsibilities. Well, guess what? I can figure it out. He gave me the gift of awareness, knowing that I can do it. Yeah, it took me a couple of months, but guess what? I am better off for it because now I don't rely on anybody else. I don't need somebody to save me, I save myself.
Wow, what a powerful life story. You have such a legacy, Maria, and I'm just so impressed with um, how you have uh, just transformed your life, um, just one step at a time, one stage at a time, one decision at a time. And I think that is so powerful. Um, so, as we wrap up our podcast today, if you had to give yourself if you had to give your younger self a message, what would it be?
I would say to myself, you're not broken. You're definitely not broken beyond repair. And more than that, you can do it. You got this. Because I know when I was in the victim stage, and sometimes even today, I get there, um, I have to remind myself that I'm not broken. This is not something that means anything about me,
Mhm.
especially abuse, um, sexual abuse, physical abuse, even mental or physical or emotional abuse. They leave us feeling weak. They leave us feeling broken. They leave us easy to manipulate, but at the same time, they leave us feeling that there's a part of us that is just broken and we almost deserve to be hurt, or at least that's what it did to me. And it's sort of like, it's almost like, oh, I must be bad. There must be something wrong with me. That's why these people are hurting me. Like maybe I'm a monster. I truly thought I was a monster. I'm like, well, it doesn't, I had no explanation. Well, it doesn't matter about the explanation. You're not broken. Everything that's happening is because I believe you're stronger than others, especially people who are victimized. I believe we are stronger than others. When I talk to somebody who's depressed now, I'm like, I think you're stronger. I think you're so strong that you have been given the task to figure out how to find your own happiness when you're really down. And and we are powerful beyond measure. We don't know what we can do until we do it. And
Yes.
we cannot wait for the results because maybe the results are 10 or 15 years later. We're not going to wait for 15 years in order to believe that we are okay. In the moment, right now, you're in your power. You make your decisions and then you figure out with the results what happens. So you're not broken. What you're doing is you're learning by doing. So I always say the steps are you you do, by doing you learn, and by learning you know. You're not supposed to learn to know something until you're learning, and you're not supposed to learn something until uh, you do it. So you do something, you learn something, and then you know it. And that's the
Absolutely.
steps.
Absolutely. Maria, you have given us so many great truths that we can apply to our lives today and just learn from you so that we'll know what our next steps are. One of the things as we wrap up, um, I in my coaching practice, um, my coaching practice is called Dear Future Me. And I named it that because I'm always looking ahead and I never want to be that person, and I don't want my clients to be that person who's stuck. This is all there is. I'll never get past this moment. And so everything that you've said today just coincides with the core values of my coaching practice because there's something more than this and where we are right now. And so you are a living, breathing, and might I add, a walking testimony of that value that there's got to be more. And it's a matter of making a decision and doing it, learning it from it, and then knowing it. I tell you, you've given us so many rich nuggets today. And thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. And for those of you listening, thank you for listening. And remember, you are amazing. You're extraordinary. You can do it. You got this.
Thank you so much. If you will just hang out just for a moment, I will be right back with you. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Maria Kellis, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, I was taking notes, and I guess for our podcast, you need to come prepared to take notes. The only good thing, well, the one good thing about podcasts is you can always press replay, and so you need to write down these things that you're learning because I'm very selective in who I bring on to my show because I want someone who can add value to our lives. Maria added value today. She gave clarity to what we need to do to discover who we are, what our purpose is, and to walk in that purpose. And so I'm so appreciative of Maria sharing today because she gave us so many valuable truths that we can just build upon and apply in our lives. Because here's the thing, you heard everything that she said, your ears heard, my ears heard, but without any application of what we're hearing, they were just words. So now here's the application time. What are you going to do with what you heard today? You may be listening or watching and you're feeling stuck, you're feeling trapped in whatever your circumstance is in life right now. What are you going to do? There's action required. Once you make that decision, now what? What are you going to do? Feel free to reach out to me at our coaching practice, Dear Future Me, the coaching program. I'm more than willing to talk with you. When I'll put some information in the description around the video and the podcast. We're here to help, and we want you to realize who you are and who you're meant to become. And that's not something that I can tell you. You deep down inside, you already know. You know what your purpose is. You just have to kind of peel the layers back to get to it so that you can walk in it. And so I am so glad that you were able to be with us here on Empowered Heart to Heart. We're here every week. You never know who I'm going to have on next. So you want to make sure that you tune in every week where we offer messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower. Until the next time, be blessed, be encouraged, but most importantly, be empowered. See you then.